Hi, I'm Mario Lurig, and we're going to create 3 plugins, 3 different ways, in less than 10 minutes for the Terminal e-ink display. So let's get started. We don't have a lot of time. All right, so I'm going to head into Terminal's dashboard and go to the plugin section. And I want to go ahead, and our first plugin is going to be to look at BBC News. We have a list of articles here, and this is their news feed. So this is just the RSS feed. So I'm going to copy that, and it's an RSS feed. So can that be handled? Yes. Terminal can take JSON, XML, RSS. It'll process all of that data. Let's see if there's a convenient plugin. So we're going to search RSS, and boom, right at the top is an official plugin for RSS feeds. So we're going to click on it, and it shows us our little preview. This is not real data. We're going to go ahead and paste in the URL. Layout, it gives us an option. So this official feed gives us a choice. We can do featured view to see the topmost post, or list view to view multiple posts. In this case, I want to see the list view. I want to see what news is coming up and see if there's something I need to dig into later. Blog feed is a terrible title, so we're going to call it the BBC blog feed, which is an infinitely better title. Hit save, and we're done, right? But the preview hasn't updated. What do we have to do? We added a new data source. So we need the server on terminal side to update and create a new screen for us. So we click here for force refresh. It takes a few seconds, and we go back up. And now, if we refresh our page, we should see the new data and the new feed. Perfect. That's exactly right. We look over here, Death of Liverpool forward. All right, and all the news is there. This is exactly what I wanted, and it took us less than 2 minutes. Whew. All right, now let's talk about plugin number 2. We're going to go back to plugins, and we're going to go to our next feed. This one is NASA's image of the day. So let's take the feed for this, and let's see if we can do the same thing. Let's see if it'll work. We're going to go go ahead and RSS feed. Yep, we're going to create a new one. We're going to paste it in. This time we want to really see a featured, because we want to see that like space image, right? We know there's one there, right? There's an image right here. So like I want to see that. So we're going to choose featured, and we're going to call this NASA feed. Wow, another original name. Hit save. And of course, we have to force the refresh to get that new data in and let Terminal do its thing on the back end. Now, mind you, we're just working in the web interface. Of course, you can set a playlist so it can show up on your actual device, but for now, I'm showing you plugins and making them. All right, let's refresh. Old Glory on the Red Planet. Well, that is definitely the featured item at the top, but there's no image. This isn't going to work for us. We need a different option. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove this plugin, delete it, make it go away, and let's start over. So let's search for something else. Maybe there's something else. There's a recipe. Recipes are created by members of the community, like me and others. I didn't make this one. But they have an advanced RSS. Well, that seems promising. Whoa! Perfect. This has images. It has the text. This seems like exactly what we need. So let's go ahead. It has a ton of options, but I can't install it. Oh, right. This has a bunch of customization, and it's by a user in the community. So we have to fork it. This means you need a dev license for your terminal device to be able to fork and alter this however you like. So I'm going to go ahead and click fork, make myself a little copy here, and we need to create a new feed. So we're going to post in the NASA feed, and we're going to look at some of the options. All right, let's do this hybrid. I mean, it was the default. Let's see what it does. We're not going to worry about the other layouts right now. Show images, absolutely. Show descriptions, absolutely. That looks all really good. Show the title bar, perfect. All this seems really good. So let's just rename it NASA. Hit save. Now, we definitely need to hit force refresh to get that fresh data into this. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down and hit that. Boom. But there's a shortcut. So I can wait here a few seconds, and then I can refresh, and it'll show it to me. Yep, absolutely has shown it to me. But there's another shortcut that you can use, the edit markup. And when you do edit markup, it'll show you both the code that's using to generate that and it'll show you a preview window of what's happening. So when you do a force refresh, you're always going to get that fresh data source. And when you go to edit markup, you're going to see that sort of live feed because you can do live changes here. Speaking of data source, there's a section called Your Variables. It shows us exactly what that looks like. All right, back to where we were going. Now, I like this. This is pretty good. I've got my main feed here. I've got like a listing. I've got some great images, and I've got choices. So I can go ahead back to this main plugin and change the layout. Instead of featured items, I can just have boom 2x2 asymmetrical layout, save it. And since I didn't actually change the data source, I can just go into edit markup and it should show me the new layout. Boom, there's our new layout. Oh, I feel like that's done. Yeah, let's call that done. Woo, 4 minutes for that one. I don't know if we can get it done in 4 more minutes for the last one, but we'll give it a try. All right, that one's done. So what's next? Let's look at CNET. Here's what I want to do with this one. I could have done this with NASA, but I like changing feeds around. What I want is something that this plugin is not offering to me right now. This plugin, I could edit a bunch of things and start with their code, but I really want like just one big, like I want maybe one big image and the title, and that's what I want. So this isn't going to work. So let's make our own. All right, let's go back to plugins. Now for this, I'm going to add a special window here. So we're going to go plugins. We're going to create a private plugin, which means it's private to us. Add a new one. So nobody else seeing this. It's kind of a blank slate for us. We're going to do polling as our strategy because we're pulling down a feed. And we're going to go ahead and paste in the CNET URL. So let's copy that in. All right, we're going to get nothing else we have to change here. You know, leave all the defaults. We're fine, except for the name. Let's just call this one CNET and PopSci because that's what we're going to do next. I'll save it. Of course, I do need to pull down the data. It probably is actually, because it's a brand new plugin, it's going to want to pull down that data the first time. But let's go ahead and speed things up with that lovely everyone's favorite button, the force refresh. There it is. All right, now we're going to go ahead, now we forced to refresh, we're going to go ahead and edit markup. And notice that we've got nothing. So let me make this a little easier for everybody else to see. And we're going to change this up over here. Switch this to that. Load that. Excellent. All right. Congratulations. I've just separated the two because I really wanted to zoom in on the text so you could see it. So right now it's showing nothing because we have nothing in the view. But we do have data. There's our RSS feed. And yeah, that's everything. But we got to make it visible. So we could just start typing code. Or we could use a quick start. There's a bunch of cool quick start options to get us started. So we wanted to, look at like a big central image. I don't know. Let's start here. Boom. I click it. It gives me text. And of course, as you can see in the preview above my head, it's all that dummy data. Well, this is a whole lot of things that we don't need. So let's just get rid of this whole table here. All right. And let's get rid of this table. We don't need that. All right. Well, now we've got something. We'll call this one image, maybe. And then we'll call this one description. Let's see how it turns out. At the bottom, we have our title bar. It's fine. Nothing really notable there. So let's go ahead and update this with data. So to do that, liquid templating language. So we're going to use a sign and we're going to say thumbnail. All right. And we need to equal something. So where do we get that data? Well, we go down to the RSS feed and it's under RSS channel, item, and then that's an array. So we're going to just choose the first one. So we're going to go RSS, channel, item, and then use the first result from that array. All right, that's gotten us so far to this first item. And so the thumbnail is under thumbnail URL. So let's keep diving in with dot notation. Thumbnail URL. I've now assigned that to the thumbnail here. And so I'm going to go ahead and just add it. So I'm going to go image source equals thumbnail. Look at that. We have our image right up there. That's pretty cool. It's huge, but I think that's fine. Great. Well, what are the things we need? The description. So I'm just going to make my life easier for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and assign a new variable, which is just called top item. And I'm just going to call the top item everything in item 0. So now I can just update this. So just top item.thumbnail URL. Great, let's get the description. So we're going to make the description, and it's going to be different. So let's look for it. The description down here, it's called description. That's pretty straightforward. All right, let's add it. Oops. Now we need to go ahead and display it, and we'll go ahead and just add it in here. Maybe we'll just make it a paragraph tag. Why not? Well, actually, we'll do that in a second. Let's go description. Did we get it? We're not seeing it. Did I do something wrong? Yes, I left in thumbnail. That's not right. Boom, it just popped into place. I love it. Now, there's a bunch of items in the framework. So Terminal has an entire framework system for labeling things. You can do tables, items, chart. There's a lot to do there. All right, it's when you're building, that's basically where you go back and forth all the time. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and add the class description. All right, well, that's handled a lot, but it's gone ahead and truncated it, which is a default. So I'm going to say clamp none. And now it's going to go ahead and use description formatting, but make sure it doesn't get clamped down to a certain number of lines. That's a pretty good start, right? Like, we've got an image, we got a description. I'm only 3 minutes over my time on that one. That would literally, we could just hit save and be done with it, right? We could just save this and that's it. Like, we've done it. We've made our own with a big image in the description. But if you'll bear with me for a few more minutes, we're going to do a couple more things and I'll show you a few more tricks when building plugins. So let's dive into that. So this one was pretty decent, and but I want to clean this up. I feel like I'm going to be adding a lot of liquid text. Now, of course, I could add it to the shared section, which is where you can put in sort of all your logic code and then leave your layout in code in just the different layouts. But for simplicity of this demo, I'm just going to be shoving things at the top of the full view so you can see what those will look like. But I want to just make an adjustment. So instead of the description being here, I'm going to go ahead and take this description and move it up here. Additionally, there's one other really important thing I've got to do. I want to show you something. When you have an image, you need to make sure you add the class image dither. This ensures that your color image gets properly dithered down to black and white so that Ian can properly display it. A lot of times people will miss this step and your image will show up fine in the preview, but as soon as you go ahead and try and render that, if we were to go back to plugin settings and go ahead and force a refresh here because we've changed the markup, we will notice that when we come back to look at this in a few seconds, that if we had not have done image dither, the image would not be displayed. It's going to take a minute to do it, so we're going to go back. Just an important note. All right, So let's talk about writing this a little bit differently. All right, so we have image, looks like we have space for another piece of data, right? We have a great image, we have a description, all of that seems fine. What if I want to do that twice? So this one we'll just call it CNET, but this isn't a label, this is really a title, so we'll call it title. Wait, isn't there a title in the RSS feed? Let's just use that. I feel like that's a better choice, right? There is a title. It's called title. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say, copy this down, and we'll just change this to title and title. Oh, we got to get rid of that clamping. Clamp, none. Man, this is looking great. This is fantastic. This is exactly the kind of layout I wanted. But I'm going to do something really cool. I'm going to add another RSS feed to this exact thing. Hey, look, there's our dithering. I'm going to take the popular science feed, copy it, and I'm going to add that to this. Now, warning, what I'm doing is not the most efficient way to do this because of mashups where you can say, I want a half view of something. I could just simply make the half view markup and then run both plugins next to each other, a CNET plugin and a popular science plugin, and they would be right next to each other in the mashup. That is the better layout than what I'm about to do. But the reason I'm doing it this way is so I can show you what it looks like when you add multiple URLs as data sources. A lot of things change, so let's go through it. All right, I've added the extra sources, but since I've changed my data, guess what we're doing? That's right, force refresh. All right, now we're pulling down 2 data sources, so we got to give it a few extra seconds, otherwise we're only going to get some of that data. So I'm going to hit edit markup, and I'm thinking things are about to break. Yep, totally busted. Why? Because our data has changed, specifically the format. When you have multiple feeds, they're indexed. So IDX under 0, short for index. So now our top item here needs to actually be IDX 0. Oops. And it comes right back. So for this second column, we're going to take this exact same layout, repeat it, but I want to change the data. We could do the exact same thing here. We could go copy this down, but I want to show you another way to write this using liquid formatting. We can get rid of all this extra that we have to type all the time for inline liquid, and instead, this is also valid. Now, we're not getting an image. Looks like I copied a little too much down. So I wanted to copy just this column section down here. Make sure that was duplicated. And then we have our columns, and then we have our layout. So, excellent. So that's everything we need to look at. Let's go ahead and scroll this down so we can actually see the full window. That's why we weren't seeing the title. That's a bit better. All right, perfect. Now, we're going to go ahead and look and see. I've rewritten this as liquid format. And it's the exact same thing, but it's just saved me a bunch of typing. Now I want to change this out. So I'm going to change this to IDX1. Why? Because if I look down at my data and I scroll pretty far past all that CNET data, I should see the PopSci data. Oh, there it is. And it has an absolutely completely different data structure. So we're going to have to parse it. Luckily, I've done this already. And so I'm going to go ahead and just copy over a chunk of code that I already have and show you what that looks like. Whoa, things have gone wild because the description is too long. So we're going to actually use clamp and clamp it to 9 lines. That's pretty good. Let's maybe switch it to 7 lines. Now we're talking. Look, we have seen it on the left. We have PopSci on the right. And all we had to do was add that URL. All right, well, there's other ways you could go about this. You can do loops. You can do, for loops. So you could loop through and show each of these instead of these 2 separate feeds. I could have just made it a single feed and then loop through both of them, doing a for loop. So it would go through index 0, 0, and then number 1. There's a lot. It's all in the markup. You can even do all sorts of things and apply custom filters. So for instance, if I wanted to update the bottom here, there is a description and I wanted this to show when something was updated, I can go ahead and do that. I can copy some code that I found right here under Advanced Liquid, and it talks about, oh, last updated refreshed. Here's some code. All right, I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in here. And now I have updated with the date and time and information of when this was last synced. Perfect. What else is there to say? I hope you enjoyed this. This has been a lot of fun for me. And if you have any other questions, let me know. My name is Mario Lurig. You'll find me in the Terminal Discord. You can use code Mario10 for $10 off buying a terminal. And see you around soon.